Hi, this is A.T., and this boxer is the Real McCoy. No, seriously, that was his moniker, and that expression, the Real McCoy, became widely used when, as the story goes, McCoy, a boxer, was challenged by somebody who did not know that he was the famous welter and middleweight fighter. And then he was quickly knocked out, and upon waking up, he said, "Oh, that was the Real McCoy." His real name was Norman Selby. He was born 1872 or 1873 in Moscow, Indiana. And like Jack Dempsey and Stanley Ketchel, Kid McCoy left home early, sometime between the ages of 13 and 17, and he learned his future trade roughing up hobos while riding the rails. It's unknown exactly when or how he became McCoy. He probably took the name from an actor. Whatever. As he drifted east to New York City, he developed a reputation as an extremely quick fighter. In 1898, the New York World newspaper wrote the following: "McCoy's movements are quick and cat-like. He does not look like the prize fighter, nor is he built like one." The Kid became famous in 1899 when he knocked out heavyweight. Remember, the Kid's welter and middleweight. He knocked out heavyweight Joe Koinski, who himself would later knock out a young Jack Johnson, and he would draw with heavyweight champion Jim Jeffries. Some would maintain that Koinski won. The Kid later took the welterweight title from Tommy Ryan, and by that time, along with luminaries like John L. Sullivan and James J. Corbett, he reigned as the face of an almost reputable sport of boxing. Ring Magazine wrote the following: "The Kid was very instrumental in popularizing boxing both in this country and abroad." But the Kid had a dark side. He was married 10 times. He hung around and joined in with jewel thieves, and he was an alcoholic. Well, after retiring from the ring in 1909, he toured Europe, covering boxing for the New York Morning Telegraph and hanging out with the likes of the Prince of Monaco. Then he returned to New York City, opened up a gym, and he gave lessons to a film director now considered perhaps the best ever, D.W. Griffith. Then he's back to Europe, where he befriended Maurice Maeterlinck, a Nobel Prize-winning philosopher and poet. And later he would be arrested in London for stealing jewels from a Belgian princess. Well, he returned to the United States after the charges were dropped, but everybody concerned at the time said he lucked out. With no money, the Kid joined the California National Guard, and he was stationed along the U.S.-Mexican border as Mexico underwent a revolution. Now, the Kid at the time was around 43 or 44 years old. Then, beginning in 1917, his former student, the director, D.W. Griffith, put McCoy in the movies. By 1922, though, the Kid was done with films. They were all silent. He was bankrupt, and he was working as a security guard, and then he got involved, albeit still married, with a Mrs. Teresa Moores. She was the rich wife of a Los Angeles antiques dealer. And after she realized he was after her money, he murdered her with a pistol shot to the head. Then the next day, he goes to Moore's antique store, robbed customers, and then shot and wounded several men who chased after him. Now, the Kid's trial for what was billed as the crime of the century, like that for O.J. Simpson, got massive press coverage worldwide. But unlike Simpson's trial, It was quick by today's standards. The prosecution argument was this: Kid McCoy used his fame and charisma in an attempt, and not for the first time, to take money from Mrs. Moore. Then when that ruse failed and she dumped the kid, he killed her. Now the defense argued Mrs. Moore shot herself, and that so upset the kid that he went insane, which explained the next day's robberies and shootings. And like the Simpson trial, the kid's defense used theatrics to win over the jury, including the kid rolling on the floor, as he claimed to have done, to prevent Mrs. Moore's so-called suicide. And again, like O.J.'s trial, the jury appeared biased in favor of the accused, and that resulted in no death sentence, which normally would have occurred for this crime. One female juror told the New York Times, and I'm quoting her, "It would have been impossible to hang McCoy. He's not the type of man that hangs." But unlike O.J., the kid was found guilty. He was sentenced to 48 years in the penitentiary, which was later reduced to 24 years. In August of 1925, he entered San Quentin prison, and he was a model prisoner until he was paroled in 1932. And while there, he served as a mentor to newly arrived inmates, including the man who prosecuted the kid. The prosecutor had been sentenced for taking bribes. Once free, the kid married for the 10th time. He was hired by Henry Ford to guard the company's thrift garden. It was growing food for the company's workers. Keep in mind, this is during the Great Depression, but it says a lot about Henry Ford. And in April of 1940, the kid checked into a Detroit hotel, and he overdosed and killed himself on sleeping pills. He did that after penning a note that read like this: "Sorry, I could not endure this world's madness. The best to you all. Sincerely, Norman Selby." The Los Angeles Times headline, like those around the country and the world, read like this: "The Real McCoy is no more." And that, boys and girls, is the story. If you liked it, tap the thumb up icon, subscribe, and share this video. Thank you.